Are we live?
Hello,
Nice.
we are back with Do It in Public, and this time with Paul, a mysterious guy from Reddit. Hey,
That's
Paul.
right. Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Do it in public. You have nothing to hide. Start using the
Hey,
internet.
thanks for having me on the
Join
show.
the ride.
I really appreciate this opportunity to talk. Talk to you and talk to about anything.
Yeah, thank you. I actually didn't have this call scheduled for a few weeks. I took a kind of break, but when I met you and
Nice.
suggested to meet, I thought it's time to relaunch it. And we actually
Love
will
it.
do a bit different cover image, so it will be like season 2. So you open in a season 2. Congrats.
Nice. I feel honored.
Yeah, and the reason is because like your story is pretty cool. So I tell you for the context. So I found you on Reddit, and I saw some guy who appeared to be you, who's building a dev agency and got to some big revenue. And then I think I saw a link on Twitter, and that's how I followed you. And you're posting good content. I see you doing it regularly. So I wonder. Let's probably start from your background. Like, how do you get there? Like before this agency, like
Sure.
you probably worked on some regular jobs, or so. I wonder
Yeah,
what's the background.
exactly. Yeah. So I never really kind of wanted to do an agency. The path there was, I worked regular jobs at various tech companies, startups. Right around 2016, I decided to leave the salaried life and create a startup.
Mhm.
I joined a few friends. We raised some money, but like startup life, we took minimum salaries. We paid ourselves basically nothing. So I took contract jobs on the side to just supplement the income. Um, right around the pandemic, our startup kind of fizzled out. We couldn't raise any money, so we shut that down. But on the flip side, my agency and contracting work really took off. So I kind of just leaned heavily into that, and I got really well. I think I got really lucky that I was able to scale it up to $500,000 of annual revenue. I learned a lot, but it's really just kind of getting pulled by the demand.
Mhm. Got it. So it's all started like from this consultant. And when you did this consulting, did you do it like as a brand, as an agency, or like
Nope,
as an
I just kind of applied to various job listings that I saw online, and I asked them, "Hey, look, I'm building a product on the side. Are you willing to
yeah?
hire me on a part-time contract basis? I'll put in 20 hours to, a week, and I'll try to do everything that you ask." Right? I
Mhm.
was paid, getting paid by the hour, so I just kind of started from there.
Got it. Okay. And what's your like technical background? Like, do like some specific languages, frameworks?
Sure, yeah, yeah. I think I got lucky on that sense. Again, I learned Go quite early
Mhm.
on, back maybe in 2013. I stuck with Go on the back end, and through my own products, building startup, I started learning React, learning
Mhm.
JavaScript. So that's kind of like my main two stack.
Got it. I actually never got into Go because one of my friends who is also like engineer in Amazon, he said
Yeah.
basically like just use Node.js. Like Go is just like a limited version of this. Is it true?
I mean, yeah, in some sense, it's all the languages are it's good at their own thing. Go is a little bit more performant. It's a compile language. It's
Yeah.
typed. Uh, the reason we picked up Go was so I worked at a ad tech company. This was back in 2012, 2013, and we
Mhm.
used to write everything in Python. And
Yeah.
like for an ad tech company where you need a lot of requests and a lot of efficiency, Python has the global interpretation lock, which essentially limits how fast a single instance of your web server can perform. So we looked at all the options. We could either lean to C, C++, or somewhere in the middle, which was Go. Um, we really liked how the sales pitch of Go was that it's like a web native language.
Yeah.
So that was extremely attractive to us.
hmm One thing that I really love about Go, it's over like this philosophy about simplicity and I
That's
like
right.
being opinionated, right? So like
Exactly.
use what we have because yeah, that's a big thought and that's huge. And do you know this website called I think like harmful cat or something? I think it's run by Rob Walling. It,
Oh, okay.
it's like quotes about all the different languages, and it's like kind of ironic because it has a lot of quotes about C++, and they all offensive quotes. So he basically collected all the quotes about how bad C++ is and how
Yeah.
good the Go is. And he has also a quote about Node.js founder. I don't, do you remember Ryan Dahl? I think. Okay, so Node.js guy who developed his also like his quote was like how Node.js is terribly like complicated because he said like sorry for introducing another layer of complication. So I really love how this guy are like serious about like this like simple systems.
Exactly. Yeah. It really pays off to be simple, right?
Mhm.
I mean, Go is invented under the umbrella of Google, so
Yeah,
you can imagine just how much scale a company like Google needs.
yeah,
Right? Like thousands of people may work on one single repository. If
hmm
if if there's multiple ways to do one thing in a language, so Python, JavaScript, you can do one thing in many ways, and they're
hmm
all technically correct. Go really forces you to follow a convention,
yeah,
and that propagates very well across organizations that's like 1,000 people. And actually, a side benefit is that it's great for open source as well. It means
yeah,
that anybody that knows Go can pick up a new piece of code, and they don't have to learn a new convention. They don't have to,
mhm.
learn the new linter that this company uses. Everybody uses one tool set. Everybody follows one convention. So that's amazing.
Yes, and it's, if we go into this direction, it's kind of interesting because I started from .NET eventually,
Right.
initially from C Sharp, and that's exactly what they did. Like they created this very standardized framework. They created this single studio to work on. So
Exactly.
everyone has the same formatting. Nobody even thought that you can format code differently. Like nobody even thought that it's a problem.
Exactly, right? Like that's the one thing about JavaScript that like really like messes with my head is you jump to a different repository and now all the formatting changes
Yes.
and it really slows you down. Right?
Yeah.
Like
And what pisses me off is when developers started to like talk a lot about what to use. I don't know, so should we use semicolon or not? So, like whether it seems like it's a very huge problem, but it's we could
it
just not
is.
discuss it at all.
It is. It's like the tab versus spaces debate, right? Like why is there such a debate about tab versus spaces?
I
Like
don't
it doesn't
know. I
matter.
wonder. Yeah, no. Okay, cool. So, how did you learn programming? Is it university or self-taught?
Yeah, well, I actually went to university for electrical engineering.
Mm,
It wasn't it while it's kind of technical and also computer related. In
mhm,
Canada, computer engineering and electrical engineering are under the one same umbrella. Uh,
mhm,
but I specialized actually more on the electrical side, on specifically in power generation. But so the benefit of our school is that there was a co-op system, which is like an internship that you
mhm,
have to go through. So every 4 months, you leave school and you join a company for 4 months on and off basis.
mhm.
So that's where I learned programming because that's where most of the job are.
Mm.
And that's how I went into programming after graduation too.
Got it. So you weren't on these internships, but you were doing coding, actual coding.
Exactly, yeah.
No?
Well, like I actually did one internship in a power company,
Yeah.
like an energy company.
Mm.
And it was like, you sat in a cubicle for 8 hours a day doing extremely boring jobs and you clock in and clock out and you commute home. And like I saw my future for the next 40 years. It scared me enough that I was like, okay, this is definitely not the career path that I want to go down.
Yeah, no clock in. I will just use time tracker. Yeah.
That's right.
Escape the matrix.
Exactly.
I read that you were using time trackers, so that's why I'm making this joke. But
That's
I
right.
also I built a time tracker, so I was working for like freelance
No way.
platform, and I
Nice.
built, and for sure I was using it. So it's for like 3 or more years. I was like
Yeah.
working full time, testing it, and actually tracking my time.
Awesome. That's amazing. It's a great product. I just turn it on whenever I start doing things, and it just spits out the entire report. I can export it. And that's how I kind of did for the first couple of years, right? I took a very meticulous timesheet of everything that I did, and I
Yeah.
built a client for it.
Okay. Yeah. So sorry to jump into it that way, but yeah, let's discuss like your process. So we know now
Sure.
your past. We know how you get started. And by the way, in this company, so was it also Go? I think it was a different language, right?
Sorry, which company?
What type of work did you do on this like first company? So I wonder, is it like what was programming language and what was the
Yeah,
project?
yeah. So the first company that I started.
uh, yeah, we can discuss this, but also I wonder on this internship, like the very
Oh,
first like
oh,
steps.
oh, the very first internship.
Yeah.
Oh man, okay, we're going way back. Okay, my very first internship was at this tiny agency actually. That was 4 people, and I believe it was using C sharp.
Okay.
Because Waterloo had a deal with Waterloo, the university that I went to,
Mhm.
had a deal with Microsoft. So all of our programming courses were taught in C sharp.
Nice, nice.
So you know, like I was maybe 18 years old. I had zero experience, but I put C sharp on my resume, so that's how I got the job.
Got it. Okay. And this company that you started, let's probably discuss not the language, but like what was the company itself? So what
Sure.
you were building?
Yeah, so the first company that I started was called Localize.
Mhm.
Essentially, we were a marketplace that helped Shopify stores sell. Um, so, like uh, the problem that we identified was Shopify. For those that don't know, is essentially a e-commerce tool that helps anybody start a store online. So you
Mhm.
can sell, small stuff to furnitures to books to whatever you want. But the thing about these tools is that the tool itself does not help you market. It doesn't help you sell the things. So we identified a problem where if we create a marketplace, much like how Amazon have a marketplace, and let these store owners sell on the marketplace, we can maybe take a cut in the middle and help
Mhm.
everybody out. So that was our core idea. Um, we approached it as a phone application. We used React Native to build out the phone application.
Got it. And was it like specific niche of stores, or it was like for everyone who ran in Spotify?
Yeah,
Oh,
good.
Shopify.
Yeah, good question. So, we didn't start out with a niche. We kind of just
Mhm.
like, hey, as long as you're interested in selling, we'll let you onto the platform. But eventually, we saw some signals in the sneaker,
Mhm.
like footwear niche.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
apparently, real people loved sneakers. There's a lot of sneakerheads out there
nice.
that's willing to drop thousands of dollars on a pair of
Mhm.
shoes. So we kind of turned into sort of like a sneaker marketplace.
Oh, interesting. So that's how you validated the niche. So you basically launched for
Yeah,
everyone.
exactly. We kind of did it backwards. We launched
Yeah.
it to everybody, but then we saw some signals with the sneaker niche.
Okay, and you mentioned that you also raised for this company or other company.
Sorry, say that again.
Did you raise for this company?
Race?
Yes, yes. I mean funding.
Oh, yes, I raised. Yes. So one of the co-founders was the main investor
Oh,
for
got
this
it.
company. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay, and how far did it go? Was you successful with this company and was it growing?
No, we couldn't find product market fit. So the biggest problem that we realized is that most stores on Shopify
Mm-hmm.
weren't selling anything unique. It's the exact same problem on all of these things, right? Like, for example, on Twitter, on X, most
Mm-hmm.
people tweeting, they're not saying anything unique. they're not really providing any value. It's the same thing as stores, right? So back then, around 2017, drop shipping was really popular. Drop shipping is this like new way to sell things by essentially you sell the thing first. You don't carry any inventory. You place the once you sell the thing, you place the order with the manufacturer, say like in China or something, and then the manufacturer ships the product directly to the buyer. So that was a huge thing. But what that created is an ecosystem where everybody was selling the same thing, right? Like cheap things like cell phone covers, coffee mugs, water bottles, useless things, really. So we got a lot of initial traction, but all of that traction didn't really turn into actual conversions because, you know, what we saw is maybe 80% of the stores that came onto the platform were selling the same thing. So it was it was always fighting the noise, trying to find the signal in the noise.
Got it. Interesting. And did you have a big team, or it was just like few of you?
Yeah. So we scaled up to around 7 people in total, part-time, full-time. Maybe 4 developers, and we had a couple interns as well, and then sales and marketing as well.
Got it. And so you were leading a development team back then?
Correct. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you find yourself in leadership? Do you like it?
Wow. So, you know, I was right out of my full-time job back then. I think I bought into the startup dream where, you know, you wanted to create a company, you raise some money, you feel invincible, you're going to change the world, right? You're going to become a billionaire overnight. So like what I truly believe that. And also I worked really hard. So I worked maybe like 16-hour days to build the product, right? And that from there, and I kind of expected everybody under me to do the same. So I created kind of a hustle environment, but that wasn't highly sustainable. So a lot of people kind of burnt out after 1 year, after a year and a half. So I think I've learned a lot from that.
Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting that you said all that. And the reason why I'm asking, because I think your content is great. So I mean, it's written with a cool words. I mean, it has story, it has useful information,
Thank you.
and that's all like signs that you also, I think, should be a good leader. So that's why I'm asking how it transforms to the real life, because basically that's what you should do as a leader, is translate useful information to like different minds and let other person understand why it's important and so on.
Yeah, I think so. I'm getting there. Until very recently, I wasn't like this, right? Like actually, it's just recently, maybe about 4 or 5 months ago, that I realized that storytelling is really important in all aspects, right? People don't really coming from an engineering background, hard facts. We use hard facts as like currency, and we thrive on communicating facts, right? Like it's either right or wrong. Like anything between is kind of a waste of time. That's from an engineering perspective. But the older I get, the more I realize that's not really how the world works. People thrive and consume stories much easier than hard facts, right? You can see that permeate through society, for example, in politics, in education even. So I'm starting to learn how to communicate better by telling stories.
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, so your content is cool, and I wonder how did you learn to create content? So it seems that you did it before Twitter and before Reddit. So I wonder what your path there.
Being completely honest, yeah, Reddit. That's Reddit. So my philosophy is this, right? So Reddit is the only place on it, one of the only places on the internet that still exists where you get immediate feedback on
Mhm.
on content.
Yeah.
What I mean by immediate feedback is you actually get downvotes and you get the comments right away.
Mhm.
Uh, and that is extremely scary. Social media has realized that how scary it is. I remember the days where Facebook had downvotes and
Mhm.
they got rid of it.
Yeah.
It's because people are scared to get that feedback. But you need the feedback for you to improve, right? Like
Yes.
the algorithm, imagine Reddit is basically Twitter or X, that the Twitter algorithm tells you exactly why your post didn't do well,
Mhm.
right? The problem with social media is the algorithm is this thing that operates in the background, and it just shows you the result. You can do
Mhm.
well, you can go viral, or you can not do well,
Mhm.
but it never tells you exactly why,
Yeah.
right? Because telling you why is scary. Reddit, on the other hand, the people are unhinged. They'll tell you why your post sucks.
Yes. So is it like a lot of posts, or is it only these few, like two posts that you shared?
I've posted a lot. I've
Yeah.
posted
Okay.
a lot of things, and that's the thing with
I like it.
overnight success, right? Like
Okay.
you
Yeah,
only
I'm trying
remember the good stuff, but
Yeah, it's interesting. And the interesting thing that I'm asking this question like for from all guests, and most of
yeah,
people they don't understand. So they, oh, I'm good in writing. I didn't know. So that's just like natural thing for them. Probably
oh, I
developed through
see.
the life, but so, like some people I see that they just like some like crazy skills. They just feel that they're natural and they don't even understand that
Interesting.
they are there.
Well, I certainly didn't come from that. Like
Yeah, the same
I
for me.
definitely did not do that. Come
Yeah,
from, oh, I was naturally good at writing. That's
yeah.
absolutely not the case.
My story was exactly like you described about like facts and communicating with facts, and I also like was learning that it's not that interesting, even if it's
That's right.
just fact with the information.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah. One interesting engineering concept that I discovered when I was learning content actually is first principles.
Yes.
Do you know this concept, right? Yeah,
Yes.
so it's a very cool concept, I think, for any like creating anything. But for content, it's super valuable because when I basically write on the page, it's what you're asking, like, like what do I mean here? Problem do I solve? So that's where we can use our skills to question.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Actually, one of the key pivotal moments that I realized that heavily improved my writing was just try to delete every word and
Mhm.
see if it still makes sense. Right? Like I know it's cliche, people say it a lot, but I, you know, I was always bad in my language courses. Like I always got C's and D's
Mhm.
because now that I'm looking back, I realized I was trying to storytelling by using a lot of words,
Yes.
right? Like I was trying to describe like a coffee mug by using four different adjectives, right? But that's not how storytelling should be. You should actually make it very, very easy for people to consume. Describe the thing as as clear as possible by using few words as possible. So like when you're writing things, you should really try to do that. Just delete words, see if it still makes sense.
Yeah, it's very profound, actually, I think. And you say that it's cliche, but I think we still need to discuss more because it's actually practical advice that you
Yeah,
need to write as much word as needed, not any
not
word
more.
more.
That's right.
You need to write as much code as needed. Write it. Probably it's a bit different there because you can duplicate stuff, but anyway, like don't write like don't create features that don't need it. Like don't
Exactly.
write something is unclear that you can even answer yourself. Like what does it mean? And that's what I'm constantly facing, like working with clients. It's hard to communicate the idea, like you said, with four different adjectives, but in the end, it's nothing. Like no idea.
Exactly. Exactly.
This week, I've met with some founder whose copy said, "We are building forward-thinking banking. It's the first not backward-looking banking, or something like that."
Got it.
What does it mean? Yeah, and
Nobody
there is,
knows what it means.
yeah, actually there was some idea behind this, but yeah, this speech wasn't that good. Okay. Okay, cool.
I
So
love that.
let's probably discuss your agency, like your
Sure.
main stuff that you now explain. So, how much clients do you have right now on this agency?
So I have a backlist of about 100 clients.
Oh,
2023 was really slow,
mhm.
really, really slow. So in a sense, I have none.
Oh,
I took most of the year off. I all I did was just sit on my couch and do
oh,
nothing. I had a lot of time to think. So like when you're asking me all these questions, I'm like full transparency. It's because I sat on my couch for so long that I had a lot of time downtime to just like try to think about what's next. Like how do I, what do I really want to do? Um, yeah, like the problem with agency right now is I think I've hit a cap of sorts.
mhm.
Like for those that don't know, I'm just a solo developer. I
Mhm.
don't have any other developers under me. I have one salesperson that takes care of most of the reactivation and lead gen.
Mhm.
But I've realized that for me to scale, I either have to scale horizontally by hiring more developers, or I have to go upstream and sell enterprise, right?
Mhm.
And neither of those options looked very attractive to me. We can get into that, but so I took the year off, just kind of regroup and figure out what's next.
Mhm. Got it. Yeah, first of all, this idea about you sitting on the couch and thinking, it's also very big idea. I don't know if you were going to say that, but it's something that I did like 3 weeks ago. I actually
Yeah,
forced myself to sit for a few hours, just like thinking about like my life, and it was very hard to get into this state. But once I get there, I basically was like talking with myself, like, hey, I
that's
didn't
right.
see it for a long time, and like, what's going on?
Exactly, exactly. It just, we're so busy nowadays. Everybody's so busy nowadays that like doing nothing really is a luxury, right? Like
Okay.
people, the problem online is, you're always seeing influencers or people, they're going to traveling, they're flying to Thailand, they're going to this and
Mhm.
that, right? Like they're doing so many things. And like, I'm like, actually, the real luxury is not flying to Thailand,
Mhm.
right? The real luxury is sitting on my couch
Uh-huh.
at home, just like on a Tuesday afternoon, doing absolutely nothing. That
Mhm.
to me, that's like absolute luxury.
Got it, got it. Yeah, so interesting. So that's your goal. Okay, so if you have this goal, like, so did you figure out what the next step will be with the agency, or are you still thinking about it?
So yeah, really good question. So that's why I'm kind of started building on X is because I thought this is something that I can't figure out alone. I need to talk to people like yourself,
Cool.
other developers, other agency founders, so that we can all learn together. Um, so far, I've leaned quite heavily into productization.
Yeah.
Well, so there's this guy called Brett at Design Joy,
Mhm.
who
Yeah.
productized his design agency to $1.5 million. So that kind of inspired me to jump into X, start exploring productization. I the problem here is now, he's a designer, he does design
Yes.
agencies, which is, I mean, I don't know how his entire thing works, but it seems a little bit hard to for a developer to do, right? There's so many intricate things that goes into a development contract that I still haven't figured out yet. But I'm actively talking to other agencies, founders, developers, trying to figure that out.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what you will learn because it's the topic that I was thinking about for quite a long time. I think it's
Yeah,
like close to 2 years already. It's also
amazing.
so wasn't so actively, but yeah, it was always my goal. Like, how do we not sell like people per hour, because it's not scale. It's
It's not. That's
doesn't
right.
aligns incentives. It like force like people to treat other people like different
Like
way.
commodity. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
like, yeah, I replaced you because like I found different rates, so it sucks. So I was thinking about this long way, and that's like exactly what I was using Twitter for. Like first time I asked it like, okay, so we have marketing agencies that are performance based, and this is quite common. Like I will add 10% to your traffic, or you will pay nothing, something like this.
Right.
Um, and I was like researching like whether someone do this for development, but I didn't find. So it's, I think it's not like solved yet. I saw a few companies that like sell developers for subscription, but it's basically like close to like per rate, so it's not like they
Mm.
formalized requests somehow. So it's a really interesting question. I wonder what you'll find, but I don't have an answer.
Yeah. So like in a sense, I got to this point by sort of productizing, right? Like you start with the hourly, you start by doing offering your service by the hour or by the
Yeah.
day, and then you move towards project based. That motion is really you trying to align on what value you want to provide, right? Like are you trading your life, your hours for a
Yeah.
compensation, or are you getting paid because you're providing value to the
Mhm.
customer, right? Like I tell all the developers that once you start thinking about charging by the project, you should move away from thinking about how long I'm going to spend on this project and how much I should charge based on the time, right?
Yes.
You should switch to value add.
Yeah.
Um, what you need to figure out is how much value do I deliver to the end customer? How much, what is, how much do they think this value add is worth to them? And you
Yeah.
should charge a percentage of that, right? Like a good
Mhm.
percentage is say, let's say 10%. If the customer thinks that you're adding $1 million worth of value to their company, to their end project, then you should charge at least $100,000 for your
Mhm.
work. So productization is just the extension of that. You need to rapidly align with your clients on what they want to achieve, right?
Yes. Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like niching down as well. If you're charging $5,000 a month, then most likely you should generate around $50,000 worth of value
Mhm.
per month.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that you ended like from like taking the same rule from different perspective. Like if you charging, like you have to create this value. So it's interesting. And that's what we're doing like in Parlact. So when we're working with clients, first of all, our main pitch is that our goal is fundraise together, and
Right,
we only targeting fundraising because it makes sense for us, so they can pay for our teams and so on.
right.
So that's like first thing that we're pushing, and we have two plans. So it's rather we launching product MVP under 2 months, so that's like another guarantee, uh,
Exactly.
or uh, or like custom plan is like rescue. So we got into the team and sending and
Right.
creating proposal, and what we're trying to do, we're trying to systemize as much as we can like these like two services.
Exactly.
In case of MVP, for example, we know that like first step we launch landing page, we're creating a UI prototype, embedding into the landing page, creating analytics, asking them to distribute while we're researching competitors. So basically we're like documenting the step by step,
Right.
and that's what we're trying to do. Basically, in the end, I want to have something like we built MVP for $10,000 in 1 month that is ready to launch, accept payments,
Yeah,
or whatever. So that's what we're doing.
exactly. I think that's absolutely the way to go about it, right? Like I think as developers, we focus too much on the detail, right? Like if you go on to a developer's webpage, we're listing out, oh, I do React, I do TypeScript, I do Golang, I do MySQL, I do AWS. But to the end client, that's like the least important part of your offering. Your offering should be, your expertise in, are you product focused? Are you design focused? Who's your niche? What what are you really good at? How are you thinking about building product and getting it online as fast as possible, right? Like these are the things that a customer values, and you need to understand that as a developer.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're saying this. One guy who I really love is Jack Butcher. Do you know him? He's from Visualize Value.
Okay.
Yeah, so you should definitely check him because he generates more than 3 million in solo business.
Amazing. Love
And
it.
he built this on Naval playbook. I mean thread. How to get rich without getting lucky. Do you know this thread?
No, I don't.
Okay, I'll share
I
it
need
after the call
to,
because it's genius.
please.
So it's the genius. Can you imagine like Twitter thread that people use to build companies, like genuine, really cool companies?
Yeah, honestly, there are these threats that's just life changing, right? Like
Yeah.
absolutely immense value.
Yeah, and you should definitely check him because probably his story will resonate with you a lot because that's exactly what he did. So he was working in an ad agency
Right.
with the top brands as a designer, like as a content, like creative designer, and he worked with
Gotcha.
like top brands like Adidas, like McDonald's, and stuff like that. And so then he left. He created his own agency, but quickly realized that agency sucks because you need to hire people or work for
That's right.
enterprises,
That's
exactly
right.
like you said. So that's what he started to think, like, how can I work so I save my time, like exactly like you're saying again. And here, like you really used this Naval thread a lot to build his business, but
Yes,
I
yes, Naval
also,
thread. Yeah,
yes,
that was it. That was it. The is it the one on wealth?
yes, it's how to get rich without getting lucky.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Yeah,
I think I read that thread maybe a year ago, I think,
yeah,
and that was just absolutely life changing.
yeah,
Every single posting that thread is just absolutely like life
yeah.
changing.
So this guy, like Jack Butcher, who did it, he's like probably the most like how do you say, like clear-minded person that I saw. Like you said, remove every word to make a great copy. So he's a master of removal. So he creates
Right.
very simple and profound like concepts. But what he actually like sells now, so it's a productized courses. So basically, like let's say Notion, like pages one by one, but they are about productizing. So they're about how to productize like yourself, like your business, and so on.
Right.
And very big idea that he said there is that he realized when he was doing proposal that his most valuable skill is actually proposals, and his proposals were pitch decks. So in order to like to get a client, he created pitch deck for them, and that was kind of proposal. And he realized that his like the most valuable skill is pitch decks because he's doing all the day long. He can like transform any complex idea into this like pitch deck quickly, and he started to like really double down on this like very skill.
Got it. Yeah. So uh, a significant amount of revenue comes from not actually writing code. It comes from me joining a startup and helping them just document and figuring out how to build a feature.
Yes.
So, for example, like a company hired me to integrate a banking service, right? Like integrate Wise. I honestly wrote maybe 100 lines of code, but through the engagement, my job was to talk to the Wise development team to get access to their API, to ask them questions on to translate my client's need into actual documented implementation details. So like a lot of development a lot of the value in development actually is not writing code. It's just figuring out how things work, just scoping and figuring out things how it work. So because like these startups, they have intermediate developers, right? Like running code is not hard.
Yeah.
If you're like an intermediate developer and you have a good set of instructions, anybody can implement the service. It's just the finding out the bugs and finding out the actual scope is the hard part. So like one way of like this really hit it right on the spot is maybe the answer of productization of the development service has nothing to do with code at all. It really is,
definitely. Yeah.
Right? It might literally just be how to offer as much value as possible as fast as possible, and figuring out how to implement something without writing code is actually 80% of the work, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so glad that we found something. So definitely your thing, like if you have, especially if you have some system like that you do it all the time, like a checklist, I don't know, like
Exactly,
like you said, like ask team, configure accounts, like that. This checklist itself, it's like a useful content that can be stored.
Exactly.
That's exactly what like this Jack Butcher did. So he published like a bunch of free products that were so good for me. I saw like a free product and I just basically donated like $150. I bought courses, but for me it was donation because I didn't watch these courses for a year or so. Just because free courses were so good. So that's like our goal is to create the free content so good and so like catchy that it somehow leads to something paid.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. Cool. So we have a few questions here. By the way, do you have a hard stop in 7 minutes, or we can stay a bit longer?
We can go maybe 10 minutes over.
Okay, cool. So let's see. Okay, so we have 2 questions. Anton asking, top 3 actionable tips for devs who had agency with employees, but now start solo career from zero, or who are sorry. Let me reread it. And that
Sure.
Again, top 3 actionable tips for devs who had agency with employees but now start solo career from zero, or who are freelancing but have a hard time niching down and find paying clients.
Good question. There's no secret answer to finding new clients. You just have to you have to figure out where your clients hang out. A good advice is go to Slack and Discord servers for whatever your most comfortable tech stack is. There is a Discord and Slack server for literally every single technology under the sun. And developers and also decision makers go there to ask it and get answers, right? Very similarly to Stack Overflow. Provide value there, turn it into a conversation. You can get deals that way.
Yeah, I would focus that there is no like easy way. So you said basically whatever you go, whatever channel you choose, you need to go there and actually put work and write some things, connect with people. I don't know, offer them something. So it's all tough work, but so that's important to mention.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So let's see what else. Would love to know his top recommendations for newsletters, podcasts, and books.
That's a hard one because I honestly use a news aggregator. I read a lot of Hackers News, and that's how I consume most of my news. Podcast-wise, I listen to a lot of finance. Joe Weisenthal is really good on the podcast. That's it. Oh, actually, okay. Book recommendation. My favorite book is the Pragmatic Programmer. I'm rereading it right now. Nice. You need to get this book. Everybody should read this book.
I actually never read it. I'll check out. I mean, I know the title, but I never read it. Cool. I think you also were talking about Paul Graham. How do you pronounce Graham? I mean,
Graham.
YC guy.
Yeah,
Do you like his essay? Did you read a lot of them?
I do read them, but I don't remember any because
Got
there's
it.
so many. I think I was talking to somebody recently about one of his essays on how you should spend your time as a founder or like an agency owner. Some people say you need focus time. You shouldn't be building products by talking to as many people as possible. You should just be, clear your calendar and just focus. But one of his essay, the key thing is that you shouldn't mix the two, as in you shouldn't try to, in one of your days, you shouldn't try to have focus time and also time that you're spending talking to your clients, right? Like you're doing too many things.
Yeah, I think you're talking about manager schedule, maker schedule.
That's right. Yeah, manager schedule versus
Yeah,
builder
it's
schedule.
also one of my favorites, and I actually copy worked it a while back, like right with my hand, so that's why I remember it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really really great, and yeah, the main concept there is that creatives like developers, designers, writers, they need like focus time, as you said,
that's right.
to create valuable things. And managers, they think in like calendar slots, like in 30-minute
That's right.
slots. But for creatives like us, like we need basically like 4 hours slot at least to like create something valuable. Yeah, it's very important concept because that's what I'm also applying. Like when I'm coding something, I'm trying to get rid of all
Exactly.
other activities because I'm starting missing emails. Like even sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So like, my mistake there is I would say like, one day of the week, no
Yeah.
meetings, right? And then I would say, oh, meetings only in the afternoon. But that's not good enough. Like nowadays, I'm doing it by the week. It means this
Mhm.
week I will talk to,
Cool.
I will go on calls. Next
Yeah.
week I do no calls, and I just do focused building mode. I think like that's you need to take it to the extreme. Like mixing the two within 1 week, that's still very disruptive. Definitely, if you're mixing the two between one day, extremely disruptive.
Yeah, interesting. That's a good advice. Also, we had Stefan here, and he, the way what he do he only use Wednesday for calls and all of this
Right,
for working. So it's kind of also cool that it's in the middle of the week, so you can kind of follow up
right,
or take tasks for someone and
right.
work all other days. And he's pretty like ritual about it, so he never takes like calls other than Wednesdays, at least with me.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Uh, okay, so I think yeah, we can already wrap up. But yeah, it was a cool conversation. I really love talking. There are a lot of things to talk about later. So thanks so much for coming. One last
Awesome.
question. I ask everyone as it's do it in public show. So I'm asking everyone about a message to build in public community. But probably in your case, it will be like, what is your message to developers who want to try something new, like launch their service or product? What would you recommend them?
Get feedback as early as possible. You can do that building public. You can do that on X, Reddit, however you can get feedback as early as possible. And the best feedback is asking people to pay.
Cool. That's a straightforward but very cool advice. I mean, and the one cool concept is to think about money that people transfer value, so they trust
That's right.
with that you deliver value, as we discussed value a lot. Cool. Okay. Thank you a lot, Paul. It was a great podcast. I think people will love it. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you for having me, Igor. I really enjoyed this call.
Do it in public, you have nothing to hide. Start using the internet, join the ride.